Here we are. We are back with the Xavier Builds podcast. This episode I have really been looking forward to. We have a special guest today, Ned from Details by Ned. This episode is called Crafting Legacy. Ned, great to have you here, mate. Tell us a little bit about your story and where have you come from? What have you been doing?
Oh, mate, thanks very much for having me. It's great. Where we've come from, I mean, it's been a pretty long journey, really. I started my apprenticeship in commercial carpentry doing gyprock.
Yeah.
And didn't love it too much. It wasn't very passion driving.
Yeah, so stud track.
Stud track. Mate, that was if you're lucky.
Yeah.
They saved that for the guys that were really, experienced. We were doing sheet lifts, mate.
Yeah.
Moving gyprock.
I actually, when I started out, did a similar thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a rough slog.
Yeah, it is
It's hard on your body and it was very, it's just repetitive stuff.
Very, yeah.
So I did that for a little while and wasn't getting heaps out of it.
Yeah.
And definitely wasn't picking up what I wanted to as far as knowledge wise. This was very early days though. This is, 17.
Yeah.
Very young, very fresh. So did that for a little while and then sort of slowly through my career moved through a few different places and was always sort of slowing down a little bit and doing a little bit more finesse work. Worked for a few builders doing custom stuff or start to finish homes or whatever, and slowly started seeing things. We'd do, a little bit of flooring with some, like a hardwood floor with, maybe a few steps or something and, getting some nice miters and things like that in there and start to go, oh yeah, really, I enjoy that, you know what I mean?
The detailed work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit more passion driven, a bit more finished product and that kind of thing. And really started getting into it through work. And I work for a joinery company as well, doing a little bit of stuff there and just getting that when you get into the finished product, stuff that you're going to be handing over to clients, that's when I started finding that my career was potentially going to align with something that I really wanted to do. And that's when I started getting really involved and passionate about it. And then my wife and I bought our first home, which was it was the first house we looked at in Latham. And we went there. The woman had been living there for 50 years, since 1970. And it was untouched. It was like we had carpet in the toilet, original cooktop, like everything untouched, and she was still living there, so it was chockers.
Like a time machine.
Oh mate, it was a pretty hard thing to walk into, and we walked in there first up and said, there's no way, we're not buying this house. We can't do that. Looked around for months and months and kept, watching prices go up because it was right in that COVID time. And then we looked online again and this house was still up. And I just said to my missus, maybe we should just have a run at this and just go in there and just gut it and make it our own. And it took some convincing. It was a hard sell, but we ended up buying it, got in there, and within 7 days we had no internal walls, no internal frames, all the windows out, subfloor up, ceiling down. And we just got right into it. And then it was pretty much 9 months. I was working full time for a builder, and then it was 9 months basically of every night, every weekend of me being there and being able to do things exactly how I wanted to do it without being able to spend as much time as I wanted on these things because they weren't really costing us money. I was living at my parents' house. She was living in with her sister, so we weren't paying rent or anything like that. I got the opportunity to spend my time on it and put my own twist on these things and try stuff out. And that's where I really got super passionate about the hardwood stuff and started going when you've got the time to do it, you can do almost anything you want. You can basically make it whatever you want to make it. So that's where it all sort of started from, and then slowly started thinking about doing it for myself full time.
And then just built it up and built it up and built it up.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Well, there's been a few previous podcasts, I think maybe 5 that have mentioned you specifically.
Wow.
And
very flattering.
Yeah, they've given you a big call out.
Beautiful.
Sean Hardwick's a big fan.
Yeah. Sean was great.
Yeah, he said you'd be good to have in here for a chat. And
mate,
since that I've sort of pricked my eyes up and I've been looking through your Instagram, and mate, you're doing fantastic work.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome to hear. And it's as I said, it's just really trying to find jobs that inspire the passion, and once you find that kind of thing, I feel like you can really go for it and give it your all.
And what you're doing differently, I guess, is, the detail. The difference is in the detail, right? And, if I look at a defining moment or first project that sort of set you on this path, is that your home, like building your home or buying that house and gutting it and then just being able to spend that time?
I think so. I think that's probably what it was. Because there was two big sort of factors in that. Once we demoed it, it was the first job where I hadn't had someone above me to ask questions to. It was sort of like the first time I'd been really in a situation where it's like, you need to sit down and figure this out yourself. I can't ask the boss, whatever. So having that responsibility of you're in the hot seat, you have to do it. You have to make the decisions and you have to stick with it. And if it's a bad decision, you have to fix it. So I think that's probably correct. The house is probably the one that really set me up to go, all right,
get into it.
Time to grow up a little bit.
Yeah. And what's your process there? Like, you had an idea obviously, and then you knew what you wanted, did you? Or were you sort of like, look, I love hardwood. Let's make this a feature of the home. And was that the catalyst?
It's sort of, we had a rough plan. I knew I wanted to do it nicely, and I knew I wanted to try some things because I'd never done any workshop based timber fabrication stuff. It was all on site for builders using, table saws, drop saws. I bought a DeWalt thicknesser that got me through that renovation, but never had any sort of real experience. So I wasn't set on making anything really, really crazy. Like if we were talking spiral staircases or something like that, it was too early on for any of that. But it was like all of our door jambs, window reveals, all that sort of thing. Silver top ash with clear resin, everything. We got feature grade timber and clear resin it all, and did that kind of thing. So it was sort of, if I could do it with the tools that I already had, that's what we were doing. But it wasn't like we wanted it to have a lot of timber, but not crazy feature. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So you were a pure carpenter and you just wanted to, I guess, highlight that stuff.
Yes, exactly right.
And now where you're at, you've got a shop set up.
Yes.
And you've got some guys working for you and a bit of a crew going there. And you got it seems like you've got a lot of really cool projects coming up.
Yeah, we've got some great projects coming up. We're in the middle of a few at the moment. We've got some really cool ones on the horizon, which is very exciting. And we've just finished a full workshop renovation. So this is still operating residentially out of my backyard in Latham, but we've got a 150 square metre workshop that we've just finished a full reno. So we've insulated it all, sheeted it, put all custom joinery, so everything's efficient. It's terrific. It's so good.
The shed away from the shed.
Yeah. It's my happy place. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you got table saws set up in there.
Yes. We've actually just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we got our new Altendorf panel saw in there. So we got a big 4.5 meter Altendorf.
Yep.
In the backyard in Latham.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah. It definitely blew the budget, but it's the sort of thing that we'll have forever. And once we sort of have bought all these machines with the ability to scale up. So when it's not the sort of tool that, we bought it so that it fits. It's a little too big for the space we have now, but when we go into a commercial space, it'll be perfect.
Now you're in this boutique type carpentry market, and that kind of thing, I think the Canberra is missing. I think that people that want that kind of stuff and that really appreciate really well thought out designs, I think there's a massive market there for that. And I think that, the prominence and all the projects you've got coming up are really showing that people are valuing that extra thought. It's not just about churn it out. It's about, and where you're sort of targeting is, I guess, that featured timber work. Tell me about where you're at and where you want to go to, because you just mentioned about expanding.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I feel like there is a bit of a void in the market, but it is coming through, and we're seeing more and more clients looking at, previous projects or even projects done by other people in the market and going, that's really cool. Like, I like how much work's been put into that. We want to add that, which is terrific to see. And I think, look, as far as growth us building our business further is concerned, where I'm pretty happy with the size, I think, at the moment. I think looking at what we were able to churn out at the War Memorial with the setup that we had at the time and the team size that we had at the time, looking at what we have now, I think we will be able to take on, a fair bit more work. I'm very eager to look at how we can grow the business properly and sustainably and focus on more efficiency rather than size and scale, and just get it all nailed out, because our business is very young. We're only 2 years old, and we haven't really had the opportunity to fully grow all the systems that we need to. So I think trying to get that stuff smoothed out that's sort of the next big step for us. And then long-term wise, it's sort of, the business kind of has a bit of a mind of its own, to be honest. When we see, we see some of these big projects come up, whether they're in Canberra or Sydney or, these big commercial projects, you go, I'd love to be able to take that on, but
need 25 blokes.
Yeah. And it's
workshop crew and then an on-site.
Yeah. And it's the thing about the work that we do is a lot of it, none of it is taught at tech or through an apprenticeship or anything like that. People that we're putting on to do these like spiral staircases and bend laminated handrails and stuff, it's all stuff that we need to be teaching on the move almost.
If we backtrack for a second, and for the people who haven't seen your work or know exactly what you do, what specifically is your business? What do you do?
We've sort of ended up in this, it sort of seems to be whatever is the hardest thing basically on site, timber-wise. We've had, a lot of our phone calls are coming from, we've got, we've asked a few people, can you do this? And they've all said, probably not. It's a bit outside of our scope. They seem to be the ones that are kind of falling into our basket, which is good fun because it's challenging, but it has its days. But I think, really it's the two big focuses are custom staircases and custom doors. So going back to one of your earlier questions about what set us on this path, another one that I wanted to mention was these doors that we did out at Mawson. The design brief was some large sliding doors. So I've gotten out to this site.
That sounds like a trap.
Yeah, it was a, I don't know if I'd call it a trap. It was a trap phone call. Big sliding doors. You think how big can they be? I got out to this job, and it's a finished al fresco area on the back of this house in Mawson it's 18 meters wide by sort of 6 meters deep. And he goes, I want that to be 4 doors. So we've measured it up, this 18-metre opening, and we've ended up with 4 sliding doors at 48.80 wide each.
Jesus.
Big. They were 300 by 75 Merbau perimeters, glazed, 420-odd kilos each. And that was, we were early days in the business then, and it was a full package project as well. So we did there's an 18-metre stainless steel strip drain, that was a guide system for the whole, because he wanted zero threshold. Yeah. Guide system for everything. Wanted to be able to open all the doors to any position. So that job was like a big defining moment of like
difficulty level 10 there.
Yeah, even 12.
Yeah.
It was a massive project, but that was a big that was one of those ones where we've asked a lot of people if they want to do this, and they've all said no for relatively obvious reasons looking back. But that was a big point in the business where I sort of went, this is what we want to do. We want to do the jobs where most people have said no.
So you smashed that out of the park then, did you?
Yeah. That one, it took a little longer than we anticipated, just logistically speaking. And it was me working by myself, and I had one or two subbies that would come in every now and then. So it was logistically very challenging to deal with, but we got the job done. It's an incredible set of doors. It was very, very cool to see it at the back end. You got these big, nearly half a ton each.
So you're passionate about, like, give me a challenge in timber and I'm going to do it. Is that the passion there?
That's massively. And that's where it really comes from, I think. And getting, having clients, come to us and say, oh, we want something like this, but we've been told maybe that we need to change this and this, and being able to go into a project with a client and say, what actually do you want? Tell us exactly what you want, and we're going to do everything that we can to make that happen. That's where I draw a lot of my passion.
Well, I can see how passionate you are, because as soon as you started talking about those doors, you had a big smile on your face.
Yeah, they still make me pretty happy.
and listening to the challenges on there, I mean, there's one thing to have an 18-meter wide opening, but there's another thing to have a 0 threshold and 4 doors to that's a very specific set of specifications to have to meet. And I feel like, for people that don't understand what the difficulty is in a zero threshold, like, you have to have water provisions so that the water gets away from there. You have to then have a door track that works there and isn't in the way of anything. You got to have a way to clean in there. Like, there's so many things to take into consideration, not to mention how the doors are functioning above and running along the head height. So in terms of, like, you could have probably put 18 doors a meter wide in there as well. Like, there's to have only 4 doors there, mate. That sounds like a very difficult project. And
that was it was a tricky one. And there's the whole drainage system, all that, every single aspect of it had its own set of challenges. But the feeling that I got when I was like, all right, we've completely nutted it out and now we've manufactured it, bring it to site and see it all working, it's good fun.
And see the client's face.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. Seeing the client's face and going, wow, like that's a big door. That's a really big door.
And there's 4 of them.
Yeah.
We're going to change our direction here for a second. I want to jump into a bit of a deep dive discussion. Mate, what do you see as the biggest challenges in the building industry right now?
I think that the connection between architecture and subcontractor is a bit of an awkward space for us, and it's trying to build a bit more of a connection between the two, in subcontractors going to architects and saying, yes, this is possible, and architects also come into the party in some aspects and saying, we can make changes to suit what is possible and functional and reasonable.
There is always a challenge there between, it's usually the engineer, the architect, the builder, subcontractor, and then the client. Like there's always, like, each one of those has their different sort of pulls, and, the architect can be very, this is the design and make it work. And, as a subcontractor / builder, you've got to come out there and make that work. And then you've got to work in with an engineer sometimes as well. And I guess what you're getting at is the disconnect there between sometimes really good vision from the architect and the execution from you on site. Like, it can be very difficult.
Yeah. It's definitely got, I think there are architects out there that are looking to work in more so with subcontractors and saying, early on, like getting into these projects where you've got, potentially 4 or 5 trades. For example, like in our spiral staircases, we might have steel fabrication, we might have someone doing the flooring, we might have us doing the balustrades and handrails, and then, we've got electricians as well with lighting or whatever. Getting in early on and going through all the details and saying, how does this actually work and how does this come together? I think that's a very important part that is slowly coming to be a bit more of a talking point and less of a we've drawn this, you build it.
Yeah.
It's becoming
work with us a bit.
Let's work together. That's exactly right. Because that's where with these sorts of projects, you have to have everyone has to be involved. Everyone has to be able to, talk through their certain aspect and their little set of problems in this job to come up with the end result. And at the end of the day, it's beneficial for everyone because the architect, the finished product is going to be far better if everyone's been able to work together from day dot.
Yeah, and probably the challenges you're running into is that, the architect has sold a specific design to a client and then you've got to meet that, but you've got to collaborate with, the electrician who's got to run his wires somewhere and you've got a finished detail that, essentially you can't have a conduit just running along it.
Yeah.
And that's the challenges that you're running into a little bit lately?
For sure it is. And I think it's potentially engaging subcontractors earlier on in the process to talk with the architect and say, this is what we need to do in order to make this concept that you have buildable and functional. And
you're overcoming the challenges then before you get to site and you've fabricated up this amazing set of stairs.
Yeah.
You know where the lights are going because you've already made provisions
for it. All planned for you. That's exactly right. And that's one thing that we're trying to sort of run as a company is trying to get involved with these projects from the get-go so that whether it's us or the architects or even the builders dealing with those communication points, someone is actually taking responsibility for the entire project instead of everyone going in with their separate areas. You've got someone looking over the whole thing saying, well, hang on, we've got to make sure that, as you said, the cables have somewhere to run and all that kind of thing. Getting onto that early is something that we're trying to sort of do to help to mitigate those issues.
Yeah, and all the builders that I've had come on the podcast, I talk to them about what challenges there are, and they're the ones saying, get the builder in early, If you've got a designer coming up with something, that's fantastic, but get us in early so we can solve these problems ahead of time and knock it on the head. So you're not there on site and you've got, the floor guy who's changed the level of the floor and you've got your newly constructed staircase. I can see you smiling. Has that happened already?
Oh, look, we've had some close calls, that's for sure. Yeah. Staying on it early is a huge, very, very important part, especially with these detailed builds where every aspect, if it gets overlooked, has its own set of problems. But if it gets dealt with early on, it's fixable.
It is fixable, yeah. And most builders are good, right? And they've got a good eye for detail, but they can't see the problems that, say, you can see being a specialist in a certain field,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think in handrails you see those lights underneath it, and I always think about how have they got the cable in there. And I love walking around. You're a carpenter, you'd have the same thing. You walk into a building and you're looking at all the details and stuff like that, and you probably have the same thing. Is that you're trying to trick every other carpenter that comes along?
Yeah,
say how do you do that?
Try and work this one out. Yeah, that's draws some passion as well.
Mate, what's working well? What are you excited for? And in the construction industry at the moment, are you finding there's a lot of work out there? There's a lot going on and things are starting to pick up, or? There
is. I mean, I think we've got, I have a slightly distorted, baseline because the business is so young. We're only 2 years in. The last 2 years for me has seemed to be I've felt flat out for the last 2 years, just being in that growth stage of business. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of big jobs on the horizon, and one thing that is very exciting is the fact that with some of the challenging jobs that we're doing, the more that our sort of name gets out there for doing those jobs, the more we're getting architects kind of pushing a little bit the limits and going, what do you think? Could you do that? Do you think you could make it a bit more or a bit bigger, which is really exciting, getting back into that sort of challenging state of,
can we do it?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can do it, actually.
Yeah. Carpenters and builders, I feel like we're just complex problem solvers.
That's exactly what it is.
Well, all good tradesmen, I guess you could say, I think complex problem solving.
Yeah, I think the carpentry, thing is a big, almost everything you do in carpentry, there's some form of problem solving especially if you're getting into like renovations and extensions, right? It's always how can we make this work, and finding those solutions when sometimes you can look at it and go, there's no solution. This is not fixable, but you know, you don't have a choice.
Better building and sustainability. Now, do you use a lot of recycled timber from, say, Thor's or other places like that? And, you know, I look at timber as a sustainable building practice in that you can grow more trees. You know, it's not concrete, I guess. Where do you get your timber supply from? And is there a part of your business that focuses on that sustainability type thing?
We do a bit of recycled stuff when it's sort of specified. It's sort of, you know, job pending, but things that we would do sort of as a bit of a sustainability option, as opposed, like if we're looking at the spiral stairs that we're doing, all of the stuff we do is bend laminated. So that's the process of getting like a 50 by 150 rough sawn length of timber, milling it and resawing it, and then ripping it into thin strips and then gluing it back together at whatever curve we need it and shaping it from there. So the benefit of that over using, say, a 5-axis CNC is you don't have to glue up this big, huge log of timber and then cut 70% out of it as waste. We're pretty much using all the timber that we can. And yeah, it's all.
And why do you do it that way? Obviously better for the environment.
Environmentally, the benefit of that visually is you can run long lengths. So we can resaw a 5 meter length with, you've got joins for length, but if we grain match it all, you can't see them. And then, whereas if you CNC, you have to have butt joins in the whole thing. So you're going to have joins every 500-600 mil. Whereas on our lengths, you can run up a spiral stair that's complete, you know, it does a complete loop on itself and it looks like one piece of timber, which is pretty, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the grain matching thing takes it to another level. So all the work that we did at the War Memorial, the spiral stairs, they were all grain matched handrails. So before you resaw it, you mark it all out, label. So the handrail's made up of 13 laminates.
Yeah.
And they all get put back in order that they come off that log. So when you glue them back together, they're all going back in the same order. So you've got some gum vein runs through the whole piece. It's pretty
that's really cool.
It's time consuming, but the finish is pretty
phenomenal.
Pretty phenomenal, yeah.
How did you get that job at the War Memorial? Like, talk me through that.
Oh, we had Hayden from Supreme Timber Floors. He did the step treads there. He was doing the sort of tread package on those spirals, and one of the project managers, Philippa Selden, approached him and said, do you know anyone who might be able to do this? And we were sort of halfway through a staircase that had a residential, mind you, small residential staircase that had a few custom made pieces of handrail. And he said, Ned might be able to do it. And so I got the call up to have a look at the plans, and I saw the plans and I was under the understanding that it was just the handrail portion. And so I was like, yeah, well, I could have a look at it. It's a pretty cool job. Like, it'd be awesome to be at the War Memorial. It's a
monument.
That's an incredible opportunity. So I sort of jumped into it, and then it sort of got bigger and bigger as we looked into it more, and the sort of.
So it started out as just a smaller handrail, and then it just you doing more handrails there, more.
Yeah, we ended up doing the full balustrade package on those spiral stairs. So all the veneer sheeting, there's upper and lower balustrades, there's top balustrade cappings. So we ended up doing basically the whole lot on the spiral stairs, and then we also got asked to do the central atrium, which was another big. That was a very, very tricky little situation.
Is that on your Instagram?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Get that up and have a look.
Yeah.
It's
let's check it out. There's the doors. Love it.
Yeah, there's some of the custom doors we've done. Yeah, so that spiral up there on the top right.
That one there?
Yeah. Yeah, so we ended up doing basically everything that you can see there except for the treads.
Yeah.
So we did all the whole lot.
That's sick, man.
all as I said, all the timber work that's in that is all grain matched, so it all looks, looks like it's one piece. It's been almost steam bent.
Do you do much steam bending?
No, we haven't gotten into it yet. It is something that we're pretty keen to sort of start playing around with a little, but we haven't really found a job where it's been 100% necessary. Because the hard thing about steam bending, from what I know, is the certain species don't like it, certain species of timber, and there's a certain amount of overcorrection that you need to do. So when we do all this stuff, there's a steel structure there. We glue laminate. We use the steel structure as our form. So if there's any deviation or, any section of little bit of wander from the plan or whatever from steel fabrication, it's always the way with structural steel. We're following that exactly. And when it comes out, it doesn't move. So we know that we're bang on. Because when when we glue it up, you then take it back to the workshop. You might spend a week shaping these timbers, and then you bring them back to site and go, it doesn't fit, it's moved. You're sort of in trouble.
And that's, I think, one of the difficulties with timber, right? Like,
always.
Timber moves.
Always.
It is a natural product.
It
is not off a line. Like it's straight out of the forest, essentially. They've dried it up and then you're onto it.
Yeah.
In my mind, steam bending shouldn't work. Like, you wet up a piece of timber, put it in a kiln and then pull it out and then you bend it. And for my mind, it's like, well, that was a tree and it was straight. It obviously wants to go back to that shape. So
it's a crazy process.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
But getting back to these stairs, there is, like, the more you look at that photo, the more detail in there. Like you've got this top capping piece you were talking about, all of this running vertically. You've got the handrail in here. Does that step, or is that handrail pops out?
Yeah. So there's an internal balustrade, and then there's like a 70 mil gap. And then inside that gap, there's another timber bead that is like a cover piece for an LED light strip.
So is that in there?
In that gap,
right.
Yeah. And then there's the upper balustrade section.
But that's pretty cool that you've worked on, the War Memorial, and that's going to be there for the next however many years.
That's the thought, the feeling that brings makes me so happy, because it was so early on, such a big project, and so much of our
that's
yeah.
Is that the one, or is that a different one?
Yeah, that's the War Memorial still. Yeah.
So that's that inlay section. That looks so difficult.
Yeah. There was a lot, and even there was a few small sections. So inside that gap, there's a horizontal piece that is a veneer sheet. Trying to draw that on CAD and then run it, work out how long it all is, because it's all, you can draw it on flat, you can draw it sideways, but to try and work out exactly how long they need to be to meet up at the top. There was a lot of head scratching going on.
How do you price something like that? Because I can't even think. That's just, to me, hey, I can do it. It's going to take me 2 years. I'll send you a bill every 2 weeks.
Yeah. It was a fixed price, and it was sort of a situation where I had to sort of go, I put my price in at what I thought it was going to be, and then I can't really negotiate on it, because I knew that if we were, under so early in the business, this scale of job is goodbye. So it was a challenge, a lot of hours looking at it, looking at the plans, getting familiar with every aspect of it.
Everywhere you look on there, I mean, you've got these lined up. You've got a bevel going back that way. This is turning around back on itself. Like, you were talking about the grain match and the character of the timber in there. That's just insane.
Yeah, thank you.
No wonder everyone was telling me to talk to you.
Yeah, it was a very, very good job to jump in on. And so those two up the top there, that's the other section. That's also at the War Memorial. So that's in the central atrium.
Yep.
That's 155 tall by 125 wide solid black butt.
I was just about to say, what kind of timber is that? It looks quite blonde.
Yeah, solid black butt. So those long lengths that run up that first set of stairs there, they were about 180 kilos each.
Right.
And glued together as big logs and then milled, sent through the jointer and thicknesser 1,000 times to get to that shape. And
yeah, you just don't see this kind of timber work these days as much anymore. But I feel like, noting that they're putting that into the War Memorial now, and how well your business has gone over the last couple of years, I feel like it's just becoming more and more prominent. And we're going back to that, featured timber type work and, have a look at this kind of thing.
It's definitely making a comeback, which is very, very exciting. And seeing, getting some traction on these sorts of big jobs and getting to these places like, these national institutions, having work there, it's so great to see it sort of expand a bit and get out into the public eye to say, this is what you can actually do with timber. It's very exciting and keen to see where it goes.
It's almost like we lost that a little bit. I feel like, there was a period there where there wasn't I couldn't pick a carpenter out that could do that, that type of work. I mean, I mentioned to you like 8 years ago, my company got approached as TDX to go and do some handrails in one of the government buildings in Barton, and they were like, we've asked everyone and no one can do it. And we're like, I was like, we can sort it out. And, we got someone else to do all the stuff for us and we just went and installed it. But, it's really promising to see that we're going back to, I guess, those foundational roots of pure timber. And you're talking about, how there's not really an apprenticeship for what you're doing, specifically in terms of like, as a carpenter, you go and you learn how to do the structural type of things. You don't exactly learn how to do the type joins, like that's like, and in the joinery apprenticeship, I don't know how much detail they go into with that sort of stuff either. But it's almost like you're in your own category specifically. Like you're a specialist in timber that, can basically do everything. And that's that, I guess, older foundational style.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of coming back. I think the exciting point, and I feel like we're sort of going through a stage where people get hooked on these new products, these new things, these new sort of products to the market that you can use to do this. At some point, we've sort of got to pull up and say, well, let's think about what you can actually do with timber now, especially now that technology's getting fully involved with, 5-axis CNC milling and things like that. It opens up a whole new avenue of what is achievable.
Realm of creativity.
Yeah. And with, with something that's been around for ages, it's renewable. It's, it's been used for thousands of years in construction. Let's see what we can do with it now that we've got, the technology to back the creativity. It's very, very exciting.
Definitely. I think, you looked back through those old heritage homes that have been built and that, colonial, I guess, design type. And there's featured timber work everywhere. There used to be a time where the carpenters would make the windows on site and they would glaze it on site. And, that's sort of dropped off now with, the aluminium windows that are just cheaper and faster to put in. But I feel like it's making a comeback. And, I think you're on the forefront of that. And you're really pushing the envelope as to what we can do. And I think, with these, new techniques now, I think the boundaries or the restrictions have been lifted a little bit and you can, I guess, do a heap of more creative things with timber.
Yeah, it's definitely coming in. It's coming in hot, which is awesome to see. And I can remember we did some work at Duntroon in a very, very old home out there, and looking at some of the work that was in there. Like, this place was probably built at a guess 50s or 60s, and looking at some of the timber work in there, going, that was done by someone, 50 or 60 years ago. That's incredible. It's incredible that people, you think about how basic the tools were back then, and the work is just incredible. And it's really good it's good that it's starting to get used in applications that are sort of, they don't have the same style, they don't have that heritage feel, but let's make this the feature of the building. It's very, very exciting to see.
Yeah. And like you hear every day nearly now, they don't build them like they used to. And I think, guys like yourself are going, well, we can.
You just need the opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, and you see the old wainscoting and you see the timber work in all the homes and the tiny little nails and, I like to go into old homes and sort of look at that sort of stuff and, you see that little half moon on there and I think the carpenter, like after he did that, shit.
Yeah, because it's not forgiving, that's for sure.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, just patch it up.
The thing with timber is once you take it away, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing about timber. And, that reminds me of when I was at school, like it was the choice between metalwork and timber work. And the bloke I was talking to about it, he was like, no, I'd rather go metalwork. You can always put something back. But anyway, I'm losing track.
No, it's very true though. That's a very, very true point. Unless you're going to try and inlay something, grain match inlay sort of situation, that's why that's the pressure in some of these things that we're doing. Like, the spiral stairs, you spend so long getting things milled, glued, and then you come to your final pass, you got this big router in your hand and you're making the final cut. If you run it a little bit wonky or, something catches, it's game over. You got another 2 weeks to fix that up. Yeah. It's the pressure that's sort of bit of an adrenaline rush of, let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Absolutely.
In a weird way.
Yeah. So are you normally the one on the router then? Or
I like to share it around a bit. It's a sort of thing where, as I said, the work that we do is so it's so new to most people. I try to lead by, I have to give people opportunity to make these mistakes because it happens, right? It happens to everyone. It's part of it. And then you have to go, all right, we're just going to have to fix it. So I like to give the guys, I don't know to overpressure them, but give them the opportunity to, this is your time. I think you can do it. Back yourself and
have a go.
Yeah.
We only learn from making mistakes, unfortunately.
That's exactly right. But then you see the guys when they make something, some really crazy, tricky cut or something like that, it's so happy. That's really what, I really enjoy that, and passing on the knowledge and you see people's passion people get a bit fired up when they do something really incredible. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Seeing the people around you succeed is definitely a big benefit.
Yeah.
Especially, if you're innovating yourself and you've come up with some method and you're like, yeah, this is how we do it. And then, 6 months down the track, they're implementing the method you've sort of come up with. It's really good. Yeah. Really special.
Yeah.
Which brings us up to leadership. What is your leadership style and how do you bring the best out of your team?
I don't know if the team would agree. I think they would. I'm fairly sort of a gentle leader, I guess. I think the time has sort of come and gone of people being, the boss being really driving people and ripping into people. I think that time's kind of gone.
I feel that's an 80s mentality.
Yeah. And I don't think that's not the way that I like to learn. I've worked for a few different types of bosses in the past. And I just really feel like, you just want someone who's supportive and helpful and wants you to do well. So trying to be, gentle when I can. Try to sort of, sometimes, you
do have to hold a standard.
You've got to hold a standard, you do. But yeah. And then I think we're very, try and be very feedback sort of, we ask the team, like, what do you guys think about this piece of equipment or this tool or this job, trying to get feedback from the team and making it an open discussion is really good because I feel like it lets the team get involved mentally with the job as opposed to just coming in and me saying, you're milling that timber, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's all right, guys, this is the job. This is the brief. This is the finish. This is the timeline. How do you guys think we can get there? Let's hear some opinion.
It definitely has to be a collaborative effort, I think, to get the most out of your team.
Absolutely.
And, I think you're, a good part of your success as well. And just talking to you and meeting you for the first time today is that you seem like a cool, calm and collected operator,
Thank you.
Like you don't, first impression is that you sort of take the time to think on things and work out a way to execute and then go from there. And I think that you just brought it up, like, bringing your team together and going, this is the brief, this is what we've got to do, this is the timeline, how do we do it? That brings them in and makes them buy into what you're trying to achieve.
That's it, yeah. And it gives everyone the opportunity to be properly involved with the project and have their own say, and they, why don't we try and do it this way because of this? You know what I mean? It gets people thinking, gets people in that problem solving state of mind, which is really something that we need to have everyone on all the time. Yeah. The sort of stuff that we do.
Well, Ned, you can't be expected to come up with all the answers all the time.
That's it. Yeah. Share it around a little bit.
Mate, have you been through any tough periods yet? Have there been any moments where you're like, oh, that was tricky, but I got through that?
Yeah. The War Memorial, the first stair at the War Memorial was tough. It was a tough slog, and big shout out to the boys that helped me out with that one, Bill Medved and Ben. They were the two right hands on that job.
The shining light.
Yeah. They Bill was there from day dot, and he, some of the hours we were doing were just crazy, because the situation was the War Memorial was that all the stairs that we did were fire stairs. And so they were using those, they had set dates where they were like, we need it opened on this day so that we can maintain full capacity so we can shut this other stair down. So it was set deadlines, and first sort of taste of a big commercial site with something that tricky and detailed and intricate was that was a tough
lot of pressure. A lot of pressure there, mate.
Heaps of pressure, and late nights like you would not believe.
Yeah, and the guys that had working with you were really supportive and
unreal. Yeah, absolutely unreal. There were days where they were coming in, I was looking at them going, geez, mate, you look like you need about a week of sleep. But they come in, mate, and they perform, and they just get through it, and couldn't have done it without them. It was not a solo effort by any means.
And that was just the passion getting you through, was it? Hey, I've got to get this done. And
absolutely. The passion and the fact that working at the War Memorial, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a huge honor so early on in the business to be asked to do something. It wouldn't even really matter what it was there. Asked to be involved with that project was just incredible. And then the fact that it's, feature stairs, it was just awesome. It was just such a big feelings job, you know what I mean?
I do, mate. I'm getting the feelings. Yeah, just talking to you about it, I can see that there's that real craftsman coming out of you, and that's exciting.
Yeah, it was a very it was tough. It was a tough slog. Like, two young kids at home. I basically started the business the day my son was born. So my son was sort of, what would he have been? About 6 or 8 months old when we started that project, and it was just straight in there. Long days. It was tough, but we got out the back of it, and it's just, you look at it now and you go, that's going to be there forever. That's,
got to be proud of that, man.
Oh, well, my kids will be taking their kids there, hopefully looking at them.
My daddy built that.
Yeah. That's what got us through.
I'll be taking my kids there and I'll go, I know the guy who built that. Yeah. How do you keep your quality high as you take on more ambitious and larger scale project? Like, what's your process around that?
It's sort of, I always knew that this was going to be a challenge early on because of the sort of work that we do. It's not something that it's not seen every day. There's not a lot of people doing it. As we discussed, there's not, a heap of training around it. So I really try and approach each job, especially getting right into these really technical ones where I have a fair bit of input, and not so much input, but I'm there trying to be a part of these jobs as much as possible. And it's challenging. We go through, most days it's sort of 4 o'clock up in the morning doing office work, then trying to be on site or in the workshop with the team to go through and, make sure things are getting done properly. And it's the teaching the team, showing the team how we should be trying to do things. It's always, as I said, it's always been something that I knew was going to be a challenge in this business, but I feel it's just really trying to grow the knowledge that I have, or the experience that I have from doing these jobs into the business. And as I was saying before, letting people, have a go at things, they might be a little bit iffy on, but just saying to them, like, you can do this. This is how I'd do it. Have a go. You know what I mean? And letting letting them along,
yeah.
letting people make mistakes. It's part of it, and it's how I learned. There's so many things I look back on and go, geez, I spent an extra 2 weeks at that job fixing that thing that I've, stuffed up or cut wrong or whatever. And it's just something that you have to deal with. And that's how you learn. And you go, well, I won't do that again. So trying to really expand the experience that I had into the business by showing people and trying to make it so we're not, making mistakes every day, but it's,
it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And with your team, I keep saying guys, I mean to say people that you have working for you.
Yeah.
They're selecting those people, like they're not the run of the mill chippy, like, or you have to have the right mindset for what you're doing.
Absolutely. And we see it. We've had a few people come through from, the carpentry background where they're in, throwing frames up and they want to have a go at this. And you get them onto like, whether it might be, sanding, finishing timber, or, we're doing some handrail where you've got to hand carve a volute, like a, 3-dimensional floor termination piece you might be standing there carving for a week, hand carving this one piece of timber. It can get challenging.
Monotonous
and that one that we were looking at earlier, the black butt at the War Memorial, there were times where I was finishing that up going, this workbench looks like it hasn't changed in a week. Like we've been standing here because it's just big, solid profiles, very hard timber to work with. And, exactly what you were saying earlier, once it's gone, you can't put it back on there. And we're landing flush with the stone underneath. It's just...
And you can't just add a little fillet in.
No,
yeah.
It's all...
That's just high pressure stuff.
High pressure and time consuming and patient. You really have to love this kind of work. If you don't have the passion for it, you're probably not going to have much fun.
You seem to have come a very long way from the gyprock. Start out.
It's about as far. This shows what I was saying earlier. This is about as far from commercial gyprock as you can possibly get.
It couldn't be further from the commercial setup.
Yeah.
Not saying there's not a lot of detail in commercial or that, stud and track type petitioning, but it's very, very different,
Very different, yeah. And there's,
I think that displays your passion though. Like, you've sort of found it and, now I want to walk through your house and check your house out as well. But, I think that's really cool. And your passion does show through in all of your work. Like, because, to the untrained eye, you might look at that and go, yeah, that's cool. But I think that if you look behind that and you work out the detail that's gone into it, or you ask yourself, how have they done that? That's where that's where it really gets me going. And I start to think about, where did the idea for that come from? Anyway, I get really sidetracked. I'm getting really sidetracked in this one. So I was talking with Sean Hardwick. I'm like, we get into this carpentry nerd type thing. Yeah. It's like, other people listening to us are like, that's boring.
All right. Let's move on. Yeah.
The people that are really into timber work, that's probably the trick of what you're doing. At the end of it, you look back and going, every carpenter that sees that is going to go, how did he do that?
Yeah. We had, we got the MBA, we sort of got nominated for the MBA finalists for the War Memorial project. And we had the judges come past, and one of them was an ex or current chippy. And he was blown away. He's looking at it going, like, this is just incredible, because he had that understanding of timber work and he knew how much had gone into it. And as you said, some people say, it's a cool set of stairs. But a carpenter who's done anything with timber goes, wow, that's like, there's a lot of hours in that.
Yeah. But and speaking on that, mate, how do you avoid burnout? Like you were saying, you get up so early, especially during these big projects like the War Memorial. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing for yourself? Do you have anything in place there yet?
Family's a big one. Love spending time with the kids when I have a spare minute.
You got 2 little ones? 2
little ones, yeah. Yeah, very little. Growing up quick though. But I think the thing that keeps me trucking on those really, on most of our projects is that passion and I'm very, very big on, as I said earlier, going through a tricky design brief with a client and going through solving all the problems, and then seeing the client, come in and have a look at these doors for the first time, or, you know, see the first few pieces of their spiral handrail go in or whatever, and they go, wow, that's incredible. That
keeps you going.
It makes me real happy. I really like seeing clients, you know, enjoying what we're doing. It's very gratifying, I guess.
It is good to get that appreciation straight away.
Yeah.
You know, even little comments like, oh, you're further ahead along than I thought you'd be, or, you know, they look so much better than I thought.
Yeah.
I'd suppose you'd get that a lot with doors, because we find whenever we do, say, a timber deck and then we oil it up at the end, it just explodes, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that'd be the same with doors, would it?
It is.
All your work, but.
Yeah. There's one up there. If you go for a little scroll up, it should be at the top. Keep going up a little further. Yeah, that one there. That's a big
video.
That door's it's a terrible video. You have to forgive me for that one. That door's 2.7 tall by 1,600 wide. And
videos never do it justice, do they?
That thing, that's 250 odd kilos. And all set in. Like, so my brother did all the plaster work on that and going through the design with that, and then having the client come in and close it for the first time and step back and go, wow, that's incredible. That's such a big door. It feels great. It's almost, you can't even really see it. Like, it's a full hidden door. Seeing that real appreciation for someone looking at something that we've built and really loving it is very, makes us very happy.
And noting how long that's going to be there for. Big pivot there, and you've got top and bottom locks as well, mate.
Yeah.
That's sick. What advice would you give to young tradies or business owners who want to carve out their own space? So you're sort of in that featured timber work. If there was another guy that was thinking about doing not something, I guess, the same, but, you know, wanting to move into their own niche, what kind of advice would you give to that person?
I think back yourself. You've really got to back yourself. And there's so many situations where I've had, you know, jobs come through and you have a bit of a thought of, can you do it? Are we going to be able to do it? Or you might show someone or discuss it with someone else and go, I think that's a bit big for you. Back yourself. If you're confident, if you've got, you know, confident in yourself and your ability to produce the work, and, you know, things are going to get tough, you're going to be able to get through it. Back yourself and really throw yourself into it.
Have a go.
And of throwing yourself into it.
Yeah.
I think that's where.
Sometimes start before you're ready.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one, because I think if you sit around and think about it for long enough, you're always going to come up with a reason why it's not the right time. It's too soon. It's too early. We're not ready. I think have a go at it and back yourself is the biggest one, I'd say.
Work it out on the go.
Almost, yeah, almost. You don't want to be going in blind, but.
Did you have a bit of a plan when you started out, or was it sort of a, you know, I back myself and I'm good at what I do, I want to have a crack at it? Yeah,
I didn't have a plan for the business as far as size or scale went, but I knew that I wanted to push the, you know, let's see what we can do here. Let's see how big we can make these doors. But I think that it's really, just never really had a full.
It sort of developed from your own skill.
Yeah.
And people getting in touch with you, seeing the craft that you do. Like, I mean, getting a good jog on there at the Warm Royal would have been a nice thing. And
that was awesome, yeah.
And I'm assuming that person knew your ability and, you know, it was sort of like, if there's anyone that can do it, I reckon this guy can.
Yeah. I think that was a big, obviously a huge step up, and definitely when I started the business, didn't expect to be doing something like that so soon. That was a real moment of, I have to back myself here. And if we're going to have a go at this, I need to do it properly and really jump into it.
I think all businesses as well, they have that one defining moment that, you know, the people that own the business or that are working in the business, you know, they put that big project to bed and they do it really well. And they're like, well, we do have the skill for this stuff and we can do it. And, you know, I think the War Memorial is just you getting started, mate.
It's a crazy thing to think about that, but
I look back at some of the projects that we've completed, and I think there is a defining one for me that we did in Pierce, and it was like a huge deck, and it ended up being a full house renovation. We sort of did the full outdoor area. We won an award for that one, so I was happy with that. So I wish you all the best of luck with your award too.
Thank you.
But now moving into the business chat, what's working well in your business right now, and what still feels hard?
I think, a lot of things are working well. We're winning and producing some terrific jobs. The knowledge in the team is expanding well, and people are picking up, the intricacies of what we do. That's going really well. I think things that we're finding hard still, obviously being young in the business, is trying to grow the background side of it in the
processes and systems.
All that, those kinds of things are tricky, but we've had, as I said before, pretty big on collaboration with the team, talking to the workshop manager and the install manager. We're making moves to sort of elevate that part of the business, which will be very helpful. And I'm trying to get a little bit more time back so I can jump back into the workshop or onto site with these guys and spend a bit more time out in the field.
You're more orchestrating now as opposed to and trying to delegate and work on people's skills so that you can build your business up. My wife has started on full time with us at the start of the year, which has been really good. And she's the driving force behind the content, is she?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's sort of outside of my scope of works at this point. But
well, it's good she's showing off what you can do, mate. I think the way that things are going today is that we need a visual medium.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think your rise to prominence and showing people what you can do is a really important part of business out these days,
It is. And the work that we do is obviously very visual. It's very, you try and explain something like this to someone without showing photos, and it's sort of, I kind of know what you're talking about, but especially when I get on a rant about a job, a bit of a ramble on, but you've got to be able to show that off, and I think she's doing a great job of that, and getting her involved with the, quoting, material procurement, all those kinds of things is freeing me up a lot, which is great because my best skill set, obviously I'm a carpenter. I'm not a estimator or anything like that. So trying to get back into the workshop is a pretty big one for me. I'm pretty excited to get out there and
get your hands dirty again.
Keep making stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so your wife's been a big asset coming into the business.
Absolutely.
And she runs sort of, I guess, the business side of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are you enjoying working with your wife?
I am.
That would have its challenges.
I am. It's good. No, it's good. She's she keeps me in line.
Yeah.
Keeps me motivated, which is good. But yeah, she's doing really well. And I think it's a step in the right direction. I think having a partner or, a second person who's as invested in the business as myself is very helpful. And especially, with the same sort of mindset of, let's give these people what they want. Let's give the clients what they want.
And what's your process with clients there and quoting? So if someone comes to you with a design, or they come to you with an idea, and how does that turn into a project for you?
They're all sort of individual. I think the biggest one for us is approaching every single job individually, right? Just because all these, every single door that we do has its own little set of issues that we need to try and iron out, or, feature points or whatever, looking at each job individually and engaging personally with the client and saying, what is it that you want and how can we get there? And then, a chat through design, a chat through budget, and then going, all right, this is what we can do. And then trying to be big on sort of open communication with clients and saying to them along the way, what do you think? How are you liking it? Do you want to make any changes? Being open to that discussion of, at the end of the day, all we want to do is give the client something that they love. That's the biggest sort of part of this whole thing for me, is making sure that when we walk away from this big entry door or this staircase, the client is sitting there going, that's exactly what I wanted. this is exactly how I pictured it. This is exactly what I wanted, and feeling happy every time they see it.
That you want to exceed their expectations.
That's exactly right. That's a big part of it. And so we can't look at each job as if it's all, one size fits all. Every client has their own set of needs. Every client has their own mindset of what they think is right, what they want to have in their home. So trying to meet that individually in every single job is sort of our biggest point, I think.
And so would you have people come in for a meeting, talk through that, or do you meet them on site, or do you got to get as much information out of them as possible at the start with to see if you want to work with them? Like what's the sort of process around that?
It's very dependent on what it is, whether they've engaged architects, whether we're doing, we might be doing the only scope in the home, or it could be, an extension. So I'll be meeting with the client and the builder and potentially sometimes the architect as well, and talking through the whole process. And it comes back to what I was sort of saying earlier, getting involved early and talking through the entire process from day dot. Everyone knows exactly what's going on. Everyone knows, we've gone through all the problems before they arise. It's all sort of dependent on what the actual job is, because we'll go through some where it's, a small bench top for an existing, joinery unit or something like that, to we want a full front entry and a spiral staircase in our big 2-story void or whatever it may be. So it just really depends, but trying to approach every single job for exactly what it is.
Yeah, got it. So it's a unique experience.
Absolutely.
To each different person that gets in contact with you, and then you meet their needs through communication.
Trying to tailor the whole sort of experience to exactly what they need and what they want.
Got it. Yeah. Got it. Now we're talking about where your business is at and where you want to go to. But I guess what you're building towards at the moment is just getting things right, your systems and processes, and, looking at projects in the pipeline and what you want to take on. Is that fair to say? Or
yeah, it is. I think where we would really like to be, I'd like to be in a position where we can have sort of 2 or 3 jobs running at the same time, and everyone being confident in their roles of, we've got our workshop manager. She's on top of everything in the workshop. There's plans going in there and there's finished product coming out. And then we've got our install team going, we know exactly what has to happen here. They're communicating. Everyone's sort of communicating and collaborating to get these jobs over the line properly and finish nicely. And then, trying to sort of iron out the background systems of running a business. That's our next goal, I think. Just getting everything running smoothly and getting into the rhythm of a good, consistent rhythm of, jobs coming in, the work's getting produced efficiently, jobs going out and getting finished to the standard that we have always sort of run at.
Yeah, so just building that momentum.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know. And in terms of systems and processes, you're always, it seems like an evolution as you're going along always.
Absolutely.
It's not something you can just turn around and go, well, a week we're spending on processes.
Yeah.
And,
and it's all fixed.
It's all fixed.
It's not that kind of situation, especially when we're trying to weigh up, there's a bit of a sort of juggling act between the residential and the commercial jobs. They're two very different approaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even, private clients to builders, there's always sort of a different thing. So just trying to look at all the jobs individually, but then trying to have systems that suit each of those jobs, or each of the scales, I guess, to make sure that we can keep efficient in the back end. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And it sounds ambitious.
It's a big mouthful when you think about it all in one go. It can get overwhelming.
Very overwhelming, yeah. But I think we're on the right track, and I think as far as growth goes and size, we've got all of our machinery now in the workshop is new.
And you're in the new workshop now?
The renovated workshop. Yep. Yes, that's all finished up.
That's where those videos were from?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. That it feels incredible in there. The efficiency, the machinery, it's all terrific in there. So I think as far as sort of growing or, getting more machinery or whatever, I think we're in a very good space currently, and just trying to really get that routine going of
Churn it out, churn it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And take the care and
that's exactly right. Yeah.
in each project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then trying to continue to push the knowledge and experience through the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, you sound like you're definitely, you've got all boxes ticked at the moment. You've got a good plan for the future. It sounds very promising.
Thank you. Very, keen to see it's been a crazy sort of ride over the last 2 years. I'm very keen to see, how it all ends up.
Did you have that light bulb moment as a carpenter where it's like, I can do everything?
Not like sort of. I think the house was that. It was that situation of if I've got enough time, I can do most stuff. Like this is pretty cool. Seeing like even some of the things that we did in the house with some of the old, like we had old hardwood window lintels and stuff in there. We took them out, milled them up and made this really cool like double dovetail feature half height wall. Little things like that where it was like if I've got enough time and I can sort of get creative and try things, we can make some pretty cool stuff. That's sort of where it all started.
Double dovetail sounds cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's a big chunk of timber too. So it was challenging, doing it with no equipment.
Yeah.
It's an old bloody Bunnings chairs on it.
Now I've got I go through this with everyone, right? But we need to get more people involved in construction. What's your take on how do we get more young people excited about trades and craftsmanship? What's your take on that? How do we bring people across? You've got a good few people that work for you, and like what was why have they come to work for you and how do we get more of that?
I think, all of the people that have come, all the people that are working for us now they've come through sort of organically from, seeing things on Instagram or social media or word of mouth of, I think you'd suit this role, go and have a chat to Ned or whatever. I think with the sort of work that we do, as I've been sort of harping on about the whole time, it's a bit of a passion-driven thing. I think the social media is a big one. And I think one thing that we're trying to push on Instagram is the process behind it now, trying to show, halfway through a job, what it looks like, where we're up to, why we're doing what we're doing, and trying to get young people sort of seeing that and having a bit of an understanding of the process behind it as opposed to just the finished product.
So showing the difficulty of the project.
Yeah. And trying to get, it's a tough sell. Like at the moment you look at the apprenticeships and it's sort of like, you can understand why as a young person coming fresh out of school, they go, well, I can go and do an apprenticeship for whatever the rate may be, $16 an hour or something like that.
No, yeah. You can't live off it.
And I can be outside in the cold Canberra winter, in the scorching heat, or I could go and get a job at the local cafe for $25 an hour. It's a hard sell and it's a career-based. People don't do an apprenticeship just for a job. They're going into an apprenticeship because they want to see their career. They want to grow their career. They want to grow their skills. It's a tough one.
So you think, apprenticeship numbers are low just because of, I guess, working outside, and it's not.
I think it's
difficult.
It's hard to do. It's hard. Apprenticeships are hard. When you're looking at the money and the work that you need to do, it's a hard thing to do, and it's. I think it takes a pretty mature young person to look at an apprenticeship and go, well, it's going to be a rough 3-4 years, but I can see the payoff at the end. I don't know if there's some way that we can try and sort of get that, convey the fact that you're learning skills that you'll have for life and you'll be able to use them for the rest of your life, whether you're doing work for someone and getting paid for it or you're renovating your own house, trying to sort of spread that knowledge, the knowledge into people and getting them to go, well, I can see the worth of that knowledge in the long run and for the rest of my life.
Yeah, demonstrating the value of it, I think,
Yeah.
is definitely, and you're right, social media and I guess talking about it is a good way. But look, I mean, it does frustrate me when you see the videos on TikTok, and that, there's no way I would do a trade. I'm getting paid this.
Yeah.
And, mate, you can go and move furniture for $35 an hour, but you're only going to be able to move a furniture for there's no, you know what I mean?
There's no end game. It's
a
very,
you open your own furniture moving company.
Yeah.
But I think that's the difficulty, and to get through that, it is a unique person that wants to take on a trade though.
Absolutely.
You've got to have this mindset that you like a challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can pick people very quickly when they're not quite suited for it, which is fine, but you've got to have that mindset of, I want to go and solve problems. I want to go and work hard. And it's going to be tough at the start, and you're going to be on the broom a little bit. You're going to be doing stuff you're not going to want to be doing, but I think that's the foundation, right? Yeah. And I think employers getting passionate about it as well. And, I think Shauno is a big advocate for bringing apprentices through and growing with them. That's the right mindset to have, and seeing our apprentices come through and, where they've gone in 6 months, what they've done in 6 months from where they've come from, getting fresh out of school, to go and, 6 months, and this guy's completely changed. He's killing it now. He's working hard. He's getting passionate about things. He's really getting involved with the work, learning, jumping on the tools.
And you see them evolve as people.
Exactly. In work and out of work, they're picking up life skills. It's something it's very important.
I think it definitely is important. And I don't think uni is the answer for everyone.
Not for everyone, no.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone picking up tools for the first time? Going onto site for the first time? Do you remember your first day?
Yeah, I do actually. I remember my first day of full-time work. You got to, it's daunting. It's bloody daunting, especially if you're coming straight out of school. You feel like a kid in a big grown-up world, but yeah, it's just try and feel confident in yourself, I guess, and chase your passion. Chase that, the same way I did. I got into it and didn't really love what I was doing. What else can I do in this field that might be a little more my style, a little bit more, a bit more feeling for me, and keep following that. I think my parents were big on, stay with your employer for the whole time and, stick with them and all that sort of stuff. That's great. Loyalty is great. Don't get me wrong. But if you think that you could do better somewhere else, that you might be more passionate, I think go for it.
I think you're right.
I think
definitely
you can't get paid to be passionate about something. Do you know what I mean? You have to really feel what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing. I think that's a very important part.
That's what keeps you getting up every morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it's cold out, you're like, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah, get out there and see some finished product or whatever it might be.
Enjoy what you're doing.
That's exactly right.
Now we're on to the quick fire round. It's never quick fire, but there's a list of questions we go through with each person, right? The first one is, what tool can't you live without?
Router. Festool router, straight off the bat. It's one of those tools that the more you start to use it, the more you realize what it can do. And if you start to get creative with we've made bases for them to hold them at certain angles or wrap around curved sheets or whatever. If you can wrap your head around how it works, incredible tool.
Yeah,
incredible tool. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're a Festool guy?
Oh, unfortunately, they're great, but they're semi-broke.
Yeah.
You can't have it any other way though, I don't think.
What's the biggest myth or misconception about timber work or building that you'd love to bust?
I guess it's just what can actually be achieved. I'm keen to keep going through and seeing, can we make this? Can we manufacture that? I don't know if there's an actual myth or anything sort of written that comes to mind, but just keen to keep pushing the boundaries and seeing, can we make that? Yes, we can.
Yeah. So that myth is bring me a challenge and I'll solve it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Don't know who's going to hear this. I might have to put a cap on that, but yeah. I think
I know the answer to this next question, but if you could fix one thing in the industry overnight, what would it be? I was thinking collaboration.
That's a big one. I think collaboration is huge. Getting people talking in the early stages. Again, the same thing I've been saying for a while. The getting the conversation about an intricate part of the project happening very early on and going through all the problems and all the solutions before you're too far in. I think that's a big one. I think that's probably it. Yeah, collaboration.
I think that's a good one. Solve the problems before they become problems.
Yeah.
Get in a room and discuss how to do this thing that you've come up with and said, work it out.
It's massive. It's worth it. You could sit down for 2 hours with, your builder, your architect, whoever else may be involved in this one portion and hash out all the issues. You might save yourself weeks at the back end or a finish that's not exactly right because we just have to make it work just from a simple discussion. Everyone looking at the plans together and going, can we change that so that I can do this? It's a big one.
I will say to the designers and architects listening, we do love a challenge, but we just like to talk about the challenge. Talk through the challenge. Yeah. Mate, what's the best advice you've ever received, Ned?
That's a tricky one. There's so much going through my head.
Yeah. It is a tricky one.
I've had a lot of good advice actually. Probably to back yourself, back your confidence. If you feel confident about something, have a run at it, and don't shy away from a challenge. If you've got confidence in yourself that you can make something work, really have a go at it. I think that's a big one.
Mm. Take a deep breath and think about the solutions and how you're going to get there. And Now I mentioned before about what do you remember your first day on site, but what advice would you give to your younger self? Say you're there in commercial gyp rocking again, mate. Stick with it, big fella.
Yeah. This will be over soon. I think, not listening to people that are negative, I think is a big one. Because I was not like when I was doing the commercial gyp rocking, I was not tearing through it super quick. I was, trying to get things cut tight and all that sort of stuff where it's not necessary. And I see that now as an experienced tradesperson, but used to get a bit of flack for that back on the commercial sides, which is understandable. And listening to, you've got to understand where you're at, but also, getting some feedback from some of the older tradies going, the trade might not quite be right for you. If you feel like you're genuinely passionate about it, keep going, keep trucking, and you'll find that area eventually. You know what I mean?
Just hearing that, and it makes me think that you've always been on this path, and you just found the path, as you were going along. Like hearing you cutting gyp rock tight and making sure everything's schmick, like it seems like that's a characteristic that you've always had to make things detailed.
Yeah, a little bit over the top sometimes probably, but I think
it's perfectly suited to what you're doing.
It is now. Yeah, it is now. It's not when you're on meter 8 throwing gyp rock. But yeah, I think, making sure you follow where your passion lies is a very important one.
Who outside of work keeps you grounded?
The family, wife and kids.
They don't let you get a big head?
Where I've earned it, I think they do. Not too much. I think they, spending the weekend or, going down to the coast with the kids is awesome. It just makes you feel like it's sort of worth it, the hard late nights in the workshop and whatever.
Big slogs, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
Mate, who deserves a shout out? Who's doing well? Is there someone that you want to get to come into the podcast and have a chat with me?
I think Philippa Selden she was the project manager at the War Memorial. I don't know if project manager was her actual title. I think she might have been in the sort of administrative field. She's terrific. She's terrific. She gave us the opportunity, you know, to show off she was the one that approached me very early on. And, you know, I think she could see that I had the passion and the drive. I might not have had the, you know, if you were looking at it from afar, the actual backing. I didn't have, you know, a huge commercial space and a heap of employees and you know, all the things that you probably would want to see with someone taking on that job. But she could see the passion that I had for the job and that I was keen to really give this a proper go. And she pushed to get us there. And yeah, she's doing a lot of good things for the building industry, I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
She picked you, mate, and it seems like you made her look pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope I can repay the favour one day.
Absolutely. Well, I'll have to get in touch with her. Mate, where can people follow you, get in touch with you, look at your work? Instagram's, yeah, that's our most prominent at the moment. We've got a website, should be good to go in, I'm hoping about a month or two, where we'll be sort of really trying to show off all of our projects and a bit of a discussion. We'll have a lot of information about the business and everything on there. But yeah, Instagram for the moment. Yeah.
Instagram.
Send a message through there.
Yep.
I'll put a link to the Instagram in the bio
that would be terrific.
Of this YouTube, and we'll be cutting up a heap of clips like we always do and pumping them out there for you, mate.
Beautiful.
Finish us off with your favourite quote.
Oh, this one comes straight from Bill Medved, the subby his subby turned full timer that got me through got me through the entire War Memorial project. Bite off more than you can chew and chew like fuck. That's basically what he said, and I'll yeah.
Nice one, mate.
I'll back him on that one.
Mate, this has been an awesome chat.
It's been great.
Thanks very much for your time. We really enjoyed this.
It's been terrific.
Cheers.
Thank you.